like 5 minutes late. No, I have to remind myself that the point of these was to allow my nervous system to exist as a human and not like as a social media robot. So if it takes me a half an hour longer to go live, then it takes me a half an hour longer to go live. Usually I'm on by 9 a.m., but between 9 and 10, I think is what I aim for. So I give myself time. Let me turn the live chat on. Okay, we're good to go. Waiting for folks to roll in. I got this tea sampler from um, Eco Cha, responsibly sourced artisan tea, and I've been working my way through it. And I like to get tea samplers from companies because you get like lots of little bags of different teas to try without ending up with a bunch of tea that you don't like, and it's usually more affordable that way. And I like that it puts boundaries on me. Because if I make my own tea sampler, by going through their tea list, I end up with way too much tea, so they put limits on there for me. And today I'm going to try their Bilo Chun green tea. This is Taiwanese tea, which I've been leaning into lately. Okay, so this is the Bilo Chun green tea. I've not tried it yet, but my glutamate levels are through the roof. I've let them climb up too high, and it's kind of like a bucket where, like, much like histamines, where, like, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, until the fucking bucket overflows. And so, that overflowed, I think, a few days ago for me, and green tea will be better than white tea at lowering that for me. So this one says it's 5 grams, so 2.5 grams for 2 minutes. I'm gonna get pretty fancy here this morning, folks, because when I first brew a tea, I follow all the directions because I want to know what it tastes like when you do it right, and then if you don't like it or if you want it stronger or weaker, you can adjust it from there. Morning, everybody rolling in. So I'm gonna weigh out my tea with my handy dandy drug scale. No, when I was a teenager or younger for sure, but this is just, I use it for tea and like supplement powders and things. So I'm after 2.5 grams. Ooh, she smells almost like an oolong, but that's interesting. So I'm weighing it right in my little teapot. This is going to be a strong cup, I can already tell based on the amount I'm having to put in here. Okay. That'll do. That'll do, pig. Okay. Scale goes away. Now, a lot of people think that a big mistake that people make with green tea is using really too hot of water. And the hot water, if you use like boiling, like really hot water, you end up pulling out way more of the tannins and the bitter aspects and far less of things like the L-theanine and like the sweet flavors. So I already set this to 170. I really like this teapot. It lets me twist this knob and tell it exactly what temperature I want it to be. And I needed that because I love my other kettle for sure and it has presets, but I'm getting far enough into tea that I need more control versus just the presets. And so I was like, all right, I did it. When Amazon, they send you that message being like, this is on sale. And I'm like, fuck, because I'd had that thing in my cart for like 2 months. But I'm like, it was like way cheaper on sale. So how did I not do it? But yeah, so I'm going to brew this at 170. For context, boiling is like 212. So pretty low, pretty slow. And it says 2 minutes, but I have a 3-minute timer, so we're gonna eye it. And that's how it's gonna go. But yeah, it is, I mean, you can do 180, you can play around. There aren't any necessarily like, I mean, there are rules, but break them if you want to, right? Find what you like. If you like more tannins, if you want it to be more on the bitter end, if you want this, if you want that, play around. Try a tea with a lower temperature. Try it with a higher temperature. Try it with more leaves in a quick brew like gung fu, or try it like less leaves and a lot of water in an overnight brew. are so many things about the Camellia sinensis plant, which is what they make true tea out of, that have just intrigued me. It's amazing how one plant can be so many different things, just depending on how humans treat her. And I don't know, I've fallen in love. And I mean, I love all plants, but like, I can't think of any other plant really that has so many personalities and so many different ways of existing. And it's just, but then again, people have had a relationship with her for thousands of years, so they've had time to do this. It probably could be done with a different plant, but anyhow. Okay, so water is ready, and I think my favorite thing about this kettle so far, beyond the temperature and all the practical stuff, is that I get to be fancy, and I can like pour from super far. And if you get really going, it starts to swirl and stuff. And there's no real need for me to pour like that. I just enjoy it. uh, I think people mainly use it for like pour over coffee, but I was reading a ton of reviews before I did anything, and I was really grateful once I got that random like, oh, this shit's on sale. I was like, all right, do it, because I don't know. The other one, I feel kind of bad too though, because like if other people need to be in the kitchen and like I take away the instant hot water source to make my videos. So we're gonna kind of eye 2 minutes here, and I might mess up and end up doing 3. I need to find a set of these that go from like tiny to, you know what I mean, like half a second all the way up or something like that. I don't think I've ever seen it like that, but it would be a pretty cool thing to have like all the way from half a minute up to like 5 minutes, like in increments. So you could, choose what you're doing for your tea. Question: do you sometimes drink coffee too? No, I don't fuck with coffee at all. I can't handle the caffeine in it. Green tea, white tea, black tea all has caffeine, but substantially less than coffee. But what green tea and all the same plant, it's all the same plant, just processed differently, does have is L-theanine, and that's basically like an amino acid that slows down how fast your liver is processing the caffeine. It like slows down the impact. So you won't get like spun necessarily from drinking green teas like you will from coffee, and you get like slow, steady like energy throughout the day with no crash. Plus, coffee consumption is linked to all kinds of issues, especially with the way that people overconsume it. It can deplete you of magnesium, push your thyroid too fast, your adrenal too fast, you burnt out, you crash all the time. Also, most coffee, unless you're buying some that's certified, is covered in mold. And so, like, people are drinking mold all the time when they have coffee. Um, so, unless you get, like, a clean certified, I'm gonna guess, I don't know. That doesn't look very strong to me. I'm gonna give it till it almost hits the bottom. And then we will find out. Yeah, somebody said they get headaches if they don't drink coffee, and so they're having a hard time weaning off of it. Yeah, caffeine can be a really health-inducing substance in small amounts, but she can be really damaging in large amounts. Well, not to be fair, they said on the description of this tea that she was very, very subtle. Smells it, looks it. The soup, as they call it, isn't very dark. Very light golden color, but that's good too because it means it's a higher quality. So let's see. Am I stuck drinking something I hate for the rest of the... You never know. That's nice. It's kind of milky. Very faint. Like if somebody wasn't used to like picking up like the little notes, you might think you were just drinking warm water. Right? If you were just like downing it without... It's really interesting though because it's like a green tea, but it tastes a lot like a white tea. Like there's a lot of floral there, like a little bit of vegetal. I'd probably go maybe not hotter next time, but longer. And the same tea, I can rebrew it multiple times, and I might end up with different flavor profiles all the way through, right? Um, yeah, it's nice. So I saw somebody asking about rings under the eyes, and I did do a short the other day talking about using things like eye bright and checking your vitamin K status. And excuse me, I didn't post it here, but I posted it on Instagram in a story, so it's disappeared. But what I did is I went back to like a video I had made just before I started supplementing with vitamin K after discovering that my body needs huge amounts of it, more than I'll probably ever realistically be able to get from food, because of a genetic mutation. But a lot of people are vitamin K deficient, K1 or K2. It's just a thing that happens in industrialized places now. And I then took a screenshot because I didn't have a picture, so I just screenshotted myself, and then I found one after I had been on K2 for 3 months, and I showed the difference in my eyes side by side, and it was fucking crazy. The rings under my eyes are like 90% less than they were. There's no more like super redness. My eyes are like shiny now where they were dull back then, and like the whole area just looked dead. Right. And so, like, topically, you could also use K2 serum under your eyes if you want to, but really, it creeps me out to fucking talk about it. But the truth is, the rings under our eyes is blood. You are bleeding. And the one thing that vitamin Ks do, on top of tons of other health benefits, is that they thicken your blood. They act as a coagulator, right? Like if you are vitamin K deficient, you bruise really easy, you bleed really easy, your gums probably bleed, your periods could be really heavy, really bloody, like more than normal, you know. Um, and uh, and it was just really crazy, to see the difference. But like you need that internally for it to stop, right? And vitamin K is one of the few fat soluble vitamins that doesn't really have a known toxicity level. And that's pretty cool because things like vitamin A and even vitamin D, even though that's not really a vitamin, it's a hormone, they have toxicity levels. So if you like just took them unfettered, you could hurt yourself, right? But vitamin K, your body's like, all right, using this, all right, using this, you know, and that's really interesting to me. Um, but it has made a big difference in me. There was a point in time where I don't know, it was to the point where like every function in my body wasn't working well. And I also have to admit that it was in conjunction with vitamin C deficiency, like fucking scurvy, on top of discovering that I even have a genetic predisposition to needing far more vitamin A, but retinol in particular, because my liver doesn't like to convert beta carotene, which is like what you get from like oranges or carrots or anything like that, into retinol, which is pure vitamin A, which you would get out of like animal fats and things like that. But it's all made a huge difference. It has made a huge difference. And I mean, getting rid of the rings under my eyes is a bonus. But everything else, it really helped my cognitive function and everything like that. How are you and your family doing? Hope all is well. We're doing okay, you know. Take it day by day for the most part. And me getting help outsourcing for the Apothecary has been a tremendous like help, because it allows me to be a little bit more present, a little bit less dead, you know. And I think we're all probably pretty excited for it to warm up all the way, you know. But we're definitely hanging in there, a little bit of time. My son's excited about a job that he might land that would also pay for his college, and I'm like, yeah, man, you don't get that opportunity very often. And if he does land the job, he would be making like signs, like for like businesses, like neon type signs, right? Like, and it's crazy how much you also need like welding and electrical for that. Now he already knows how to do both, but like getting that certification helps him get paid more, right? And then paying for it is fantastic because it's not cheap. Um, but yeah, we're doing okay. Today I'm gonna try to get some sunchokes that I hope I never have to eat planted. I mainly want to grow them for animal fodder. I know a lot of people like think of them as a survival food, and they're definitely that, but they have so much inulin in them that like they will make you like fart yourself to death. Like you might not starve to death, but you'll like fart to death. There are things you can do to lower the inulin, but I like thinking of just having it there, letting her spread where I'm planting her, and then I can use the above ground foliage for animal fodder. You know, um, yeah, I believe that it's possible to fart to death. I have no scientific backing or research for that, but I swear to God, um, but well, there's a difference between like there's fiber, like right, like so if you process beans right, you don't like get gas from them, but like inulin is a little bit of a different beast because she's a non-digestible starch. So like sometimes when you make tinctures, if you end up with like a white powder on the bottom, people always like panic because they think something's gone wrong, but it's just the inulin from the plant coming out, and it's non-digestible starch. It won't hurt you or whatever, but like in big amounts, like I don't care how well your gut is, like it will like it just feeds bacteria really aggressively. A little bit's good, a whole ass meal. Like if you want to like poison somebody, you're like, here, I made you a bowl of mashed potatoes, but it's actually like sunchokes, or whatever, Jerusalem artichoke, whatever you want to call it. And they'll just like they might not die, but they wouldn't be able to come after you because they would be so like doubled over with like stomach cramps from farting. Um, I did forget to turn my big hourglass. I'll turn her. But I'll probably. Well, I don't think it's actually 30 minutes. I think it's more like a 23-minute timer. I swear to God. um, but yeah, so today we're going to try to get those planted. And then I got a bunch of comfrey rootstocks that I'd like to get planted. And then maybe the Dietrich's broccoli seeds. Like it's a wild broccoli that'll just come back every year on its own. It's more like what they call it, like Robbie. Like the little shoots where you eat the whole thing versus just the crown. Broccoli is broccoli, just shaped different. So I might get those done. I don't know. I've been dealing with like the glutamate level buildup, which makes my brain go like a billion times faster than it already does, which is insanity. Like it might actually lead to insanity. That's the way it feels. But it's not great because it's kind of makes you feel similar to like ADHD, where like I'm going a million miles an hour, but I can't accomplish anything, right? And I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But it's my own doing. It's my own doing, and I know how to fix it. It just takes a while. I've got to just lower my glutamate levels, which is lots of like specifically green tea, ginger, chamomile, lavender, working with lithium orate, which isn't the same as like prescription lithium, but it lowers glutamate levels really well. I might end up having to just straight up do some ketamine. I have a prescription for it, a tiny little amount. I don't really use it very often anymore, but I have it in the back of my pocket for use, and that will really drop my levels, right? But it's not just about lowering them in the moment. It's like overall body levels, and so it's not fun when it gets like this. And anybody who lives with like OCD, huge amount of anxiousness, intrusive thoughts, things like that, is probably living with high glutamate levels. And so for me, it also makes me be like, oh, did you wash your hands? Did you wash your hands? Or like a phrase of a song or something. Not like I have a song stuck in my head. Like I have 3 words from a song that go over and over and over and over and over and over and over in my fucking head, and it's not fucking great. And listening to the song doesn't help. If anything, it enhances it. Or like I'll hear one word that reminds me of some fucking song or saying from however long ago, and then that word will just stick in my head, and it's like, god damn it. And that's all glutamate. That's all really high glutamate, because when I lower my glutamate levels, it all goes away. You need glutamate in your brain. It's how like your neurons like communicate and stuff. But normally it's like this, normal brain function. But when your glutamate levels get high, it's like, and then it's like going, everything's too fast. Everything's too fast. And so, but yeah, so that's been fun the past couple days. And I think I felt it, and I was like, no, I'm just worked up. Just ignoring that fact. Um, yeah, sometimes anything that lowers like stress levels can typically also lower glutamate levels. But a lot of people think of glutamate as like, oh, I don't eat gluten. No, it's like MSG. It's like monosodium glutamate is added to everything, but glutamate is like a neural receptor type situation in your brain, and like this amino acid can build up. And for me, what happened was they put me on benzos for a decade, and one of the long term ramifications of that is like you will always have like systematically like higher glutamate due to the damage to your brain. Like I have literal like chemical brain damage from as far as pharmaceutical industry. So I have to deal with it. And it's not great, but it is really helpful. And like learning about what it is, it's not helpful that they hurt me. It's helpful that I now know what causes it. You know, and there used to be in the beginning when I started coming off of benzos, and it was fucking horrendous. But like my skin would burn, like, but mainly my ear. Like my ear would get like as red as this, and I'd have to put ice on it. And I never really knew exactly what it was from, other than like maybe like neurons misfiring, right? Turns out it's glutamate levels. Reliably, if my ear starts burning, I'm like, ah, oh, fuck, something had hidden MSG in it. Right? MSG's got like 20 plus different names, right? Or I've just let my levels build up too far, and whenever I can like take a shot of ginger juice or like some really strong lavender tea, and like reliably the burning stops because it's lowered the glutamate levels. Fucking glutamate. But I still eat bread. Glutamate foods, because it's not really about restricting, it's about helping your brain rebalance, right? And it's just a big difference. Ginger tincture works okay, but I've noticed that the ginger juice works a little bit better. It's probably something that's not being extracted by the alcohol, right? But if you look side by side, typically things that lower histamines will also lower glutamates. They kind of like work hand in hand, you know. For a long time, I thought that I had histamine issues. Um, well, not a long time, but it was a good rabbit hole I went down for about 6 months, being like, am I having like histamine reactions right now? Like, because it's very like you feel like you can't breathe, or skin burns, right? That's very associated with like allergic type reactions, histamines, but it was the glutamate. It's the glutamites, glutamines, glutamate, all of the above. So, let me interrupt my fucking glutamate induced rambling to talk about our sponsor today, which is always me and my wild yam and chamomile synergism capsules. If you're somebody who is like dealing with like hormone issues, like if you're having hot flashes, if you're exhausted and all that kind of stuff, you can work with this to naturally create DHA in your body. And DHA is this really cool precursor that your body then says, hey, I need to turn this either into progesterone, estrogen, testosterone. Right? And I always add chamomile with my hormonal support blends, because chamomile is fantastic at opening the detox pathways in your liver for hormones, in particular estrogen. We're all a little estrogen dominant because there's soy in everything we eat for the most part, right? It's just an environmental factor of our reality. But I really like her for anybody who just needs overall hormonal support, if it's perimenopausal, full on menopause. If you're already on HRT or anything like that, that's already a hormone in your body, I wouldn't really fuck with her. But you can also combine this with my pine pollen chamomile synergism. They work really well together. The pine pollen is more to do with androgens, getting like if you've got like dryness down below, she can really help boost libido and things like that. And this one is more about stopping like hot flashes and things like that, and they work really well together. But because I use a unique microdose and real herbs, no fillers or nothing nasty like that, this bottle will last you 2 months because it's only one capsule a day. You don't need to swallow down 6 or 10 or 12. One capsule a day. So if you use the code TEATIME, TEATIME, you will save 10% off of your first bottle or anything you want in the shop, honestly. But if you subscribe to where you get an auto ship every 2 months, you'll save 30% off today if you use the TEATIME code, because you automatically get 20% off of every bottle when you subscribe. And that ends my self-sponsored ad. Let me scroll up. I saw somebody, okay, so Katie Cat, thank you so much for the super. Thanks for inspiring me. For the first time ever, I've harvested, cleaned, and dried my own purple dead nettle. 80% of my backyard is full of them. That is really awesome to hear. I'm really glad to hear that. So somebody asked if men could use the wild yam chamomile. They would be better off using the pine pollen because it's like more towards androgen specific, but I have both blends in the shop. What a lot of people don't realize that women need testosterone too. It's so overlooked. It's frustrating when you go to like a doctor, endocrinologist, and they don't test your fucking progesterone or your testosterone. They just look at your estrogen levels, and I'm like, why don't you look at the whole picture? Like, why aren't you looking? Because you won't even know if you're estrogen dominant if they aren't looking at all of your levels. And testosterone is so low in women naturally that when you just get a little bit deficient, it wreaks havoc, right? It can make your down below really dry or painful, low libido, zero energy. You start losing muscle mass. Like, we don't need a ton. We just need a little bit of help in that department, right? And pine pollen is fantastic for that because she has the natural androgens in her that just, give you a little bit of a boost in what you need, and your body knows how to turn it into what you're missing, right? Somebody said we are still battling snowfall here in Alberta, so no dead nettle yet. Yeah, it was crazy. Yesterday we woke up and it's like sunny and beautiful and green and snowing. It wasn't enough snow to amount to anything. It was just kind of like trickling snow from above, and I was like, all right. But it does that here. It's all like spring and beautiful, and then it's like 18 degrees at night, But I'm just kind of watching. And I don't necessarily always believe that it'll hit 18 here. And our weather's weird because we'll have stations like further up in the mountain telling us our weather. But I'm like, yeah, but you guys are like 3,000 feet higher than we are right now. So you kind of have to just eyeball what you think the weather's going to do. But yeah, so I don't know. I'll try to push out some of my undirected energy today in the garden. Best that I can. Tomorrow is the Friday Q&A. To remind everybody, tomorrow is the day that you can like catapult me with all of your health questions, and I like make a real effort to like see them and answer them. And if I'm still all hopped up on glutamate, it'll be a fucking intense one because I'll just let my brain run with it, and we'll just like rapid fire answer questions. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. But I'm just hopeful I get a little bit of something done today, But I don't know. It's gonna be a day. Yesterday I was supposed to do garden stuff, but I was like, you have online work to do, and that's actually pretty exciting because I finished. I had the green light to print my labels for all the mouth muds that are coming pretty soon, and I was like, yes. But I avoided it. I was like, I need to do it. And I was like, okay, but do this first. I must have done 37 things first before I sat down and took a whole 15 minutes to get those sent off to the printer. I'm like, why do we do that as humans? Like, what's the avoidance about? I mean, I got a bunch of other stuff done, but like, why, body? And I know it's nervous system related, and I know that kind of stuff, but I'm like, I'm happy now because now, pretty soon, I will have all of I still have the original mouth mud in stock, but I'll have huge amounts of the charcoal and a new mint blend too. And I'm like, they're just waiting on your labels, April, so get it done. And then, I don't know. I also got sidetracked yesterday by making a bunch of water kefir, and that was, is what it is. We almost died once from water kefir from our own sheer neglect. It was like one of those things where it was like an exit point. I was standing in the kitchen by this bottle that needed to be washed out, and sometimes things build up on the counter like in a corner. And I want to say that bottle was probably sitting there like kind of stashed behind some other junk on the counter for like 2 months easily. I'm just gonna admit that about myself. And didn't really think about it. There wasn't much in the bottle, right? It was pretty much empty. It just needed to be washed out. and I was looking in the fridge right next to it, and I walked around this little like wall we have that vaguely separates the kitchen from the living room because it's kind of an open floor plan. And I said something to my husband, and like I had been around that for like 10 seconds, and then it was boom, and it was so loud that our ears rang, and there was like projectile glass like all the way down the hallway, embedded into the wall. Like I would have fucking died if I was right there. And so, um, my husband's been pretty, fucking gun shy of water keeper, and um, I was like, yeah. So I'm gonna do it again, but not the explosion part. I was like, we have rules. You have to. I can let it sit there for 2 months if I really want to, but I have to open the cap. But that's what's fucked up. Those bottles are supposed to be safety. Like the swing top bottles, like the top cap was supposed to come open, right? Versus fucking exploding the glass. Like you could kill somebody with a water kefir bottle. Or, you could do the same thing with kombucha. Anything you're fermenting, it was crazy. But yesterday I got a little bit going, and I've got a vanilla orange on second ferment, and I've got vanilla raspberry on second ferment that I'm pretty excited about. And I'm not letting myself do more than 2 bottles at a time so I don't get backed up, because that's totally what happened. You start growing more and more grains, which is like the bacteria that creates it, and then you're like, oh, I better make more. Oh, I better make more. Oh, I better make more. And then you end up with all these bottles of kefir, and it's just, I don't know. It's a thing. So I've promised him that I won't kill us with water kefir again. But anyhow, if you want to support my capacity to be an erratic human and all over the place on videos and teach freely and just kind of do all that stuff in general, consider becoming a member. It's a handy way to throw me a couple bucks a month just to support my ability to keep a roof over my head and tea in my pot. You do get early access to videos if I happen to get them uploaded early. But if not, don't worry. I always release the videos on a Saturday anyways. If you'd like to call something home from my apothecary, anything at all, you can use the code TEATIME, TEATIME, to save 10%. I've got all of my herbal synergism capsules, mouth mud, pit goop, all of my books and things like that. You can use that code on anything you want. If you can't do any of that, or even if you can, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, turning on notifications, that's all super helpful, especially sharing, because it helps other people realize that they are smart enough to do this too, and it gets my work out there and all that kind of stuff. So it is very, very helpful. So thank you so much, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning for the Friday Tea Time Q&A. Bye!